Hey, I'm Lily. I've been working as a waitress at this cafe for a year now. Yeah, might not sound like much, but trust me, yeah, in a cafe that opens at 8 in the morning and closes almost at midnight. In that time, you can get to thin a lot, especially dates. First dates. People often think that a cafe is just a place where they serve coffee and desserts. But actually, it's a theater, a stage where hundreds of little dramas play out every day. I've seen people fall in love at first sight, get disappointed in a second, pretend to be someone else, get so nervous they draw their cups on the floor. And you know what's the most interesting thing? People think no one notices them. They feel like they're in their own little impenetrable bubble. Just the two of them, and the rest of the world doesn't exist. But I notice. I always notice. It's my job to notice, to see when someone eats more potent, when to clear and empty plate, when to offer the check. But over time, you start to see more than just dirty dishes. I started writing things down. At first, just for fun, out of boredom or curiosity. Observations, oddities, patterns. Who sits how? Who orders what? Who looks away? And after a few months, I realized something. There are patterns, rules. For example, I can tell within the first 5 to 10 minutes where the date will end with plans for a second one, or if this is the last meeting, just by how they sit, where they put their hands, how often they smiling. I guess right 8 times out of 10, maybe even 9. It's not magic, it's observation, because people think they're unpredictable and unique. But if you watch from the outside, if you see 5 days per shift, you realize that patterns exist, strategies that work, and mistakes that everyone repeats. Today, I want to share what I've learned. I'm not going to give you generic advice like be polite or brush your teeth. That's always. I tell you about the non-obvious things, about what really happens at those tables, about the signals we send without even realizing it. So, 10 rules of a first date through the eyes of a waitress who pays too much attention to details. Let's begin. The first rule is the simplest, but for some reason, many people ignore it. Arrive before your date about 10 to 15 minutes early. The official reason: to pick a good table, calm down, not rush in like crazy. But you know what I've noticed over this year? Those who arrived first almost always win evening. I specifically tagged this. Out of 100 dates where one person arrived early and the other on time or a bit late, in 70 cases, the first person controlled the flow of the evening. They chose the conversation's topics. They felt more confident. Why does it happen? It's pure psychology. The one who arrives first chooses the spot, and that's already a small power. You sit where it's comfortable for you, facing the room or the window, in a cozy corner or in the center. You order water. You settle in. You get used to the lighting, the smells, the noise. You become the master of the territory. Picture the situation. Your date walks into the cafe. They're looking around for you, a bit lost, entering an unfamiliar space. And you're already here. You're calm. You're smiling. You're waving. Psychologists call this the anchoring effect. I call it home field advantage. I've seen it again and again. A person arrives first, picks a comfortable seat, takes out the phone, checks the messages. They look busy but calm. The second person rushes in, a bit out of breath, coming in from outside. Starts with apologies, even if they're only 2 minutes late. They sit down across, still flustered, taking off the coat, and from that moment their roles are set. One is calm, in control, the other is catching up, apologizing. Of course, you can change this balance during the date with good conversations, jokes, but why start from behind? Why put yourself in a weak position? So, just arrived early. Order a coffee, take a breath, and greet your date, not from a position of stress, but from a position of confidence. It works every time. The second question that torments everyone is what to wear. And here is what I'll say based off what I see every day. Clothing isn't just fabric. It's a message. It's a code that gets read in a second. The main mistake I'll see is mismatch. I remember a guy who came in a three-piece suit to a regular cafe on a Wednesday afternoon, and his date showed up in jeans and a t-shirt. The awkwardness hung in the air, thicker than the smell of coffee. He felt overdressed. She felt underdressed. The conversation didn't flow, or the opposite. A girl in an evening dress and heels, and a guy in a stretch-out sweater. They looked like they accidentally met from different universes. But there's something more interesting. Colors. I started paying attention to clothing colors and noticed curious patterns. Red. That's aggression, confidence, a desire to dominate. People in red speak louder. They want to be noticed. It's all, but I can sometimes scare people off. Black, the most common choice. It's gentle, being closed off, or an attempt to look serious. But I've noticed a strange thing. When both people show up in dark colors, black, dark blue, gray, the date turns out very serious. Little laughter, lots of deep conversations about work or politics. White. That's a signal of openness, a desire to start with a clean slate. But white is dangerous. One coffee stain, a drop of sauce, and that's it. The person spent the whole evening thinking only about that stain. Loses confidence. I've seen how it killed the mood. Blue. Here is my favorite. Calm, reliability, the safest choices. People in blue most often get invited on a second date. I've checked. And one more thing that's always surprised me. Locals. I've noticed that people who come in clothes with huge brand names talk more about money, about careers, about status, about what car they want to buy. And those in simple clothes without freshly labels. They talked about hobbies, about dreams, about travel, about books. Maybe it's a coincidence, or maybe not. So, my advice is just in your own style. Don't try to be someone else, but think about the message you're sending. Your clothes will speak about you before you even get to say hi. Now, about the spot. Where exactly to sit? Many people just wait for the hostess or waiter to point them to an available table. And that's a mistake. The spot is information. It's comfort. A table by the window looks romantic, right? Natural light, a view of the street. But there's a catch. All the passerby can see you. You're like fish in an aquarium. I saw a couple by the window. The guy was trying to create romance. Took the girl's hand, looked into her eyes, and outside the glass, a group of teenagers stood there, pointed at them, and laughing. The whole magic of moment was destroyed in a second. Plus, it's often drafty by the window in winter or scorching in summer. It's distracting. A table in the far corner. Private, quiet, but it looks like you're hiding or planning something illegal. Plus, it takes longer for the waiter to get the menu. You'll have to wait an extra 5 minutes for a minimum. A table in the center of the room. In the aisle. The worst option. Waiters run past with trays. People bump your chairs with their bags. You're constantly on edge. So, where should you sit? The ideal spot in the middle of the room, but by wall. Private enough, but not isolated. And here is my personal secret that I used myself. I always try to sit facing the edges. Always. Why? Because when you sit facing the entrance, you see everything. Who comes in, who leaves. You control the space. If you're sitting with your back to it, you're vulnerable. You don't know what's happening behind you. The waiter appears from behind suddenly, interrupts the conversation. You flinch. But if you're facing the room, you see the waiter coming. You can finish your sentence. Prepare for the order. By the way, I've noticed an interesting psychological moment. Sometimes both people want to sit in the commander's seat on the couch facing the room. It's always interesting to watch. Either someone gives in, showing flexibility, or both insist and then they sit next to each other or at an angle. Those couples are usually a clash of two strong personalities. Either it's in disaster in 20 minutes, or it's the start of a crazy romance. Competition of alpha personalities. So, the spot matters. Choose right and have the work is done. Now, for the most interesting part, the order. It's more important than it seems. The order speaks to your state of mind. For a whole month, as an experiment, I wrote down who ordered what and how the date ended, and their patterns. Coffee. Those who order on coffee, in 18% of cases, they're not planning to stay alone. For them, it's a test drive. Drink a cup and leave when something goes wrong. Salad. In 60% of cases, this is ordered by women who are nervous. A salad is a safe choice. You can poke it with a fork for a long time. If there's an awkward pause and you won't look silly doing it. Steak or burger. This is the choice of the confident. They're not afraid to look hungry, not afraid to get their hands dirty. They came to enjoy the food at the company, but they are signal orders. For example, a double espresso in the evening. I've seen this about 15 times this year. And you know what all these people have in common? They were all late. All of them. They ran in after a hellish day at work, tired, damned. A double espresso isn't a taste choice. It's a cry for help. I'm incredibly tired, but I'm here and I need energy to be nice. Or here is another pattern. When both people order the exact same dish. One says, I'll have the carbonara. The other, oh, I'll have the carbonara too. Sounds cute, right? Common tastes, harmony. But according to my statistics, this is almost always a bad sign. Out of 20 such couples, only 3 had a second date. Why? Maybe it makes people too similar. The intrigue is lost, or it's an attempt to please too much, to conform with each kills interest. So, what should you order? My advice? Order something in the middle. Not just coffee. Show that you are not in a hurry. Not the most expensive dish, and no the most complicated one. Pasta short like penne, not spaghetti. That's splatters. A sandwich, a hot dish that's easier to eat. And here's one more thing. It might seem strange for you, paranoid, but I've seen too much. If you go to the bathroom, finish your drink, or ask the waiter to take it away and order a new one when you get back. Why? Well, technically, you don't know what could have happened to it while you were gone. Probably nothing. Almost certainly nothing. 99.9% chance your companion is a normal person. But you don't know that for sure. And it'll fit in your head. You'll come back, look at your finished cappuccino, and for a split second think, what if that thought will possess your whole evening? You'll drink it cautiously. So, just finished it, or order a new one for your own peace of mind. It's not paranoia, it's healthy practicality. Okay, the food has arrived. Now you have to talk, and this is the many people stumble. I don't eavesdrops on purpose, of course, but when you bring an order on clear plates, you inevitably hear bits of conversations, and there are topics that kill the romance of the spot. Topic number 1. Exes. God, please, never talk about exes on a first date. I had a conversation where a guy spent 20 minutes describing what a terrible, gritty, and mean person his ex-girlfriend was. His new companion nodded and smiled, but her eyes said, "Where is the emergency exit?" If you're asked about your past, answer briefly. It didn't work out. Different personalities. That's it. Period. Don't go into the dirty details. Topic number 2. Work details. Saying I'm a programmer or I'm a lawyer is fine. But launching into a 40-minute lecture about the specific of Python code, all the peculiarities of text law this quarter, that's a disaster. I've seen people all desert just to have something to do, while the partner wouldn't stop talking. It's boring. It's work. Leave it in the office. Topic number 3. Money and health problems. Your mortgage, the cost of your car, your bad back or pollen allergy. These aren't topic for the first hour of getting to know someone. It's either breaking or complaining. So, what should you talk about? Travel can go wrong. Even if you haven't been anywhere, you can discuss where you want to go. Hobbies, whatever makes someone eyes light up. Food, you're at a cafe, discuss what you like. Funny stories from life, self-deprecating humor is very bonding. And the most important rule of conversation. It should be a dialogue, not a monologue. I saw a date where a girl talked about herself for an hour state, about school, about your cat, about your friends, about your manicure. The guy couldn't even get walled in. By the end of the evening, he looked like a zombie who'd had all his energy sucked out. Ask questions, listen to the answers, react. Conversation is like a game of tennis. You hit the ball, they hit it back. If you keep the ball and don't kick it back, there's no game. And by the way, don't whisper. If I walk past the table and don't hear the sound, if your lips are moving, I start thinking you're planning a bank robbery. Speak in a normal voice. Whispering makes the other person strain, lean in. It's uncomfortable. Oh, wait a second. Lily, we need help. Now. Sorry. They're calling me. Looks like something went wrong in the kitchen again. Mia probably mixed up orders or set the toast or fire again. You know what? This is probably for the best. I've been talking too long anyway. You're probably thinking, Lily, when are you finally going to shut up and let me just drink my coffee? But I still have more to tell you. We've only covered 5 tips, and I promised 10. We haven't talked about the most important things yet. About phones on the table. That's a whole serpent circle of hell. I'll tell you why. About red flags. How to know you need to run from a person before dessert even arrived. And about how to end a date gracefully, or how to make a smooth escape. These are important things, maybe even more important than what I've already told you. So, I have to go save the kitchen, and you, meanwhile, try using these 5 tips. Arrived early, think about what you wear, Sit facing the entrance. Order wisely and speak in a way that make people want to listen. That's already half the battle. The rest I'll tell you next time. See you at the cafe.